Welcome to Three Count Commentaries. Let's talk about Vince McMahon paying four women over $12 million over the last 16 years to cover up allegations of sexual misconduct. All right, so I wasn't able to get the full article, which is what I wanted. So maybe I'll get it on the Wayback Machine eventually, and we'll maybe have to do a little bit different there. But now I do have enough information. So let's talk about what we got out here thus far. So it says Vince McMahon, WWE's longtime leader, agreed to pay more than $12 million over the last 16 years to suppress allegations of sexual misconduct and infidelity, an amount far larger than previously known. The payouts went to four women, all formerly affiliated with WWE, who had signed agreements with Mr. McMahon that prohibit them from discussing potential legal claims against or their relationships with the 76-year-old executive, according to people familiar with the deals, as well as documents reviewed by the Wall Street Journal. The previously unreported settlements include a $7.5 million pact with a former wrestler who alleged that Mr. McMahon coerced her into giving him oral sex and then demanded her and ultimately declined to renew her contract, or demoted her, and declined to renew her contract in 2005 after she refused further sexual encounters. According to people familiar with the matter, the wrestler and her attorney approached McMahon in 2018 and negotiated the payment in return for her silence, the people said. In another previously unreported deal, a WWE contractor presented the company with unsolicited nude photos of Mr. McMahon she reportedly received from him and alleged that he had sexually harassed her on the job, according to people familiar with the woman's 2008 Nondisclosure agreement. McMahon agreed to pay her roughly $1 million, these people said. And in a 2006 agreement, a former manager who worked 10 years for McMahon before he allegedly initiated a sexual relationship with her was paid $1 million to keep quiet about it, according to people familiar with the deal. The Journal previously reported the $3 million hush pact. So they said that the McMahon agreement with the paralegal is still being investigated by the board of directors. All right. So there's going to be a lot of ricochet shooting going on here. So the big one, of course, is the $7.5 million pact with the former wrestler, because wrestlers are a different thing. That's what people really care about. People really care about female wrestlers. Office staff, yeah, they kind of care about them too, but it matters a lot that it's a wrestler. And so what's happened is that all of these female wrestlers who were released in 2005, there's somebody who made a list of them. The list contains Molly Holly, who now currently works in WWE, Christy Hemme, Dawn Marie, who they say was fired for WWE because she got pregnant, and Jackie Gayda, who was then at the time married to Charlie Haas. Now, I think they said Joey Giovanni also worked at WWE at the same time and got released in 2005. I'm not sure. I did not go and look up the list myself because to me, it's not that important who the woman is, even though it is important. Now, because, why ignore the speculation out there? People believe that it's Christy Hemme. Why do they believe it was Christy Hemme? Because, as someone else very smartly did, they went and found an article where Christy Hemme talks about exactly the same thing that happened in the article. She says, quote, this is from an interview back in 2005. They, meaning WWE, asked me to move to OVW to train. And I was like, yes, I get to go train. Like, I want to go work hard. I was really excited. And then when I got there, I was there for maybe a week. And then I got the call that I was released. And I was heartbroken, crushed. So Christy Hemme is the one who was demoted, i.e. sent back to OVW, then released later that year in 2005. Now, it's not entirely true, but you have to look at the circumstances that was taking place at the time. Christy Hemme had a match at WrestleMania 21. She wrestled Trish Stratus that year. So that means the same year she had a match with Trish Stratus at WrestleMania was the same year they said, well, she's not good enough. Send her back to OVW. and then she was released later that same year. Interestingly enough, from the same interview that we said when she talked about getting the train and then being crushed, she talked about why she got released. She says, "I'm a strong woman that lives by my morals. And if you ask me to do something that's not within my morals, I will say no. So once I was put the line down, that's when I got axed. It was one specific incident, and so I'm just going to leave it at that because I don't need to go into details. It was not a wrestling related risque thing. I did Playboy. It's just behind the scenes politics. Okay? So, we're not saying it's Christy Hemme. We're saying a lot of evidence leaned towards it being Christy Hemme. That was the young lady, supposedly Vince McMahon coerced into sexual relations in 2005, who then came back later on looking for justice in Vince McMahon's pocketbooks in 2018. Not saying it did happen, not saying it didn't. Just saying that looking at the information the Wall Street Journal provided, we were able to whittle it down to Christy Hemme, who was at WrestleMania that year and then later that year was released. Now, we can't say for sure it was her, but what we're looking at is the preponderance of the evidence, and at least in this situation. And we're saying the preponderance of the evidence leans towards it being Christy Hemme in this situation. Now, unfortunately, it's going to be up to her to say whether it happened or not. Oh, we're not saying it's Christy Hemme, but we're saying the preponderance of the evidence leans more towards it being Christy Hemme, which is very unfortunate if it's not her, because now her name is going to be out there as the female wrestler who gave Vince McMahon a blowjob and then got $7.5 million out of it. So it is what it is. I just say, look, if you're a woman who don't want to be quote unquote outed, then you probably should stop telling people your business. Stop talking. Then before you wouldn't have people familiar with the matter going to Wall Street Journal or whatever. And I've been really tripping on this whole people familiar with the matter thing, but I'll save that towards the end. So the next one was a WWE contractor presented the company with unsolicited nude photos of McMahon she reportedly received from him and alleged that he had sexually harassed her on the job. This was from a 2008 non-disclosure agreement. Now, the nude photos, that's evidence right there, right? We should, do we have those? Do we have them? I'm not saying I want to see them, but I'm saying, are they attached to the document or something to that effect? Or is there somebody who says, look, I got some news events, I want some money, could that be the case? How do we know they were unsolicited? Because it says these people familiar with the matter, because that's what they said. It was unsolicited. So if they're not the person who did the complaint, we don't know whether that's true or not. So look, I know it's kind of boring listening to me talk about this because it's the same principle again and again. If it's not direct evidence directly from the person, we can't know for sure how much of this is somebody putting their own spin on it versus somebody telling straight facts. At least with Rita Chatterton, it was her talking about what happened. Okay, so we can at least say whether we believe that or not based off of her putting her face and her name on this thing. In these other situations, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's us trying to be Sherlock Holmes, trying to figure it out. Now, in this situation here, it says a contractor. Now, a contractor could be anybody. It could be a camera woman. It could be a referee. It could be somebody who does hairdresser. It could be anybody. So this one's going to be very difficult. But, if Vince was sending dick pics to this chick in 2008, it's very bizarre. It's very, very bizarre. And we need to have a conversation about this. Because Vince can't be going around showing dick pics. And the dick pics thing is one of the things that supposedly came out of the whole Boca Raton rape thing in the spa. Or was it the tennis salon? It's a tennis salon. When he supposedly raped this or had sexually harassed this woman at a tennis salon. She actually went to the police, this young woman. So her story is a little bit more believable, considering she actually went to the police and not went, straight to the vault and trying to look to get, paid out of that thing. But, $1 million, that's kind of wild. Now, it said the 2006 agreement was a former manager who worked 10 years for McMahon before allegedly initiated in a sexual relationship with her, was paid $1 million to keep quiet about it. Manager, I don't think they mean wrestling manager. They probably mean some type of office manager, or somebody who works in the office. But they didn't say that this was non-consensual. But it does say that he likely had another sexual relationship with another employee, which again is not good. I said it before, make no excuses. Vince should not be banging employees. And we know that he did that because he banged the chick who, Emily Feinberg, who was his secretary at the time. And she actually was one of the witnesses in the steroid trial. So we know this goes back at least to the 80s of Vince banging employees. Now, you absolutely cannot do that. And we see that he has a history of banging employees. I don't understand that. It's just stupid to me that, he would, whether it's consensual or not, you don't have sex with employees. It's the most risky thing out there. And the bizarre thing, and I'm not gonna go full heel on this. I'm actually gonna babyface it near the end. So let me get my sort of negativity out of it. It goes back to Vince, probably just banging chicks that he has access to. He's a busy man, and instead of going out and getting prostitutes, he just decides, hey, this is a nice secretary right here, or this office manager right here, or whatever. And he just sees it's convenience. And a lot of people think that it's a power game, or you just want to have power over them. It's like, well, to anybody who might want to use the power argument, let's use this. Should we or should we not be chasing down Nazi prison guards? Okay. Now you may say, what does it got to do with anything? Well, if you ask anybody, like if you ask somebody like David Bixenspan, who I listened to him talk about this, and he talked about it. He's one of those, well, it's clearly he likes having the power over. And I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about Nazi prison guards. Should we chase down Nazi prison guards? Mostly everybody would say yes. If you were in any way involved with the Holocaust, you should be held responsible for your actions. Okay. That means that in a situation, a hierarchy, you could be near the bottom or in somewhere in the middle and still be held responsible for your actions. You still had a choice, right? That means that if you're a secretary and you fucked Vince McMahon, it wasn't out of fear. Because here's the thing. Because some people are still going to say, well, they were scared for their job. Look, there have been sexual harassment laws on the books for more than 40 years. These stories go back more than 40 years. You could have filed a sexual harassment lawsuit and still got the fucking money without going through all the non-disclosure stuff. Still could have got the money. Probably could have got more from the courts. Some of these people, some of these stories where, let's say Rita Chatterton said she was going to make $500,000. If she'd have went to the courts and said, Vince McMahon raped me, she would have gotten way more than $500,000. Some of these women, if they would have went to the courts and said, Vince McMahon sexually molested me, he raped me, or whatever the case may be, they would have gotten far more than what they got, except for maybe the one who got $7.5 million. Maybe she wouldn't have gotten that much. But some of these chicks would have gotten far more money based off of his, how he's perceived to have been so rich, and especially in stuff like that in the public. They would have made tons of fucking money. All right. So we can understand that it's inappropriate as fuck, but it's not always Mr. Power Dynamics. It's, you can't really consent. Like, bullshit. You still an adult with a fully functioning brain. If you don't want to have sex, you don't have to. And if you get fired for it, guess what? You have legal recourse that you can. But he has so much money. He has attorneys. As we see here, these people have money and they have attorneys and they still out here telling stories and doing whatever the hell they want. It hasn't really affected them at all. Now, you may get a cease and desist in the mail. You may even get a countersuit. Maybe. And he did countersuit Rita Chatterton that one time, but then he ended up dropping the suit because he had to go through this whole thing with steroid trial and everything. So there is so many outlets to be had on this subject. So the idea, and this is why Vince McMahon doing this dumb shit pisses me off so much. Not even because my power dynamics and it's inappropriate. Like, yeah, people do inappropriate shit all the time. People are always fucking at work. I mean, it is what it is. Is he supposed to be like some kind of monk because like there's people fucking at work at my job, you know, and I bet they're at your job too, fucking at work. It's what people fucking do. People fuck the folks that are the closest to them. And sometimes the more time you spend with somebody, the more likely you are to fuck them, especially if you're sexually attracted to them. So I'm not going to flip out over Vince McMahon having sex with his employees. It's disgusting. He should not be doing it. And that's why I'm going to turn babyface here. He needs to step down completely. He got to go bye-bye. You know, and it's not because I think Vince is guilty. You know, I don't know whether he's guilty or not. I'm just saying we need to now start looking at all of this stuff that a lot of people are starting to do. You know, after listening to like Bix and Span and listening to like, you know, watching people respond to different things online, it's time for Vince to not be selfish. All right. He has to recognize that staying in his position at this point, he's going to bring the company down. How? Well, there's going to be people who are going to contact his sponsors. You know, there's already people adding Snickers on Twitter. There's people who are going after Pat McAfee because there's people going after Logan Paul. There's people talking about, oh, the talent should just walk out. They're going to have people atting the talent. You're putting all these people in a bad situation. You're being a poor leader. All right. That's always been Vince's strong suit, is that he was always somewhat of a strong leader, a guy who went out there. And if people were attacking the talent or attacking the show, Vince would stand up for him. You know, he went out there. Part of him, you know, flipping out on Bob Costas and all that kind of stuff was him sticking up for his products, him sticking up for the boys. You know, they want to do suck it and, you know, middle fingers and drinking beer and all that kind of edgy shit. Vince is out there trying to stand up for him. And yeah, he looked stupid doing it sometimes because he was making a ton of money off of it, but it was also the creativity of the boys. It was these guys out here doing that stuff. Now he wants to sanitize the product while also continue fucking the employees. You can't do that, man. You can't do that. You're putting people in a really, really bad situation. Now you're going to send Bianca Belair out there to do interviews after all this kind of shit come out. And then the people who are doing interviews ain't supposed to say anything bad about it. Ain't supposed to say anything to her about it. You're putting her in a bad situation. You're putting her in a fucked up situation. You're putting Becky Lynch in a fucked up situation. If she's going to be out here representing WWE and all this stuff, and Vince McMahon is fucking his employees and everybody knows about it. You can't do it. You can't do it. You're trying to get The Rock to do a WrestleMania and you're out here fucking your employees. The Rock, by the way, and I just learned this the other day. The Rock heard about the Suicide Forest thing with the Paul brothers, and he was actually friends with those guys. And his publicist sent a cease and desist to the Paul brothers. I don't know which one, so I was going to say the Paul brothers, to take down all pictures that he took with The Rock. The Rock ordered him to take them all down. That's the kind of shit we're dealing with here. You want John Cena to show up and be a hero to children and you're fucking the employees? You can't do that. You can't do it. At this point, when you have so many people that are trying to take down the company, you have to think about the company at this point. The company has to be bigger than Vince at this point. You have to step down. If it's going to come business, you know, Vince has always been, it's all about business, pal. This is a business decision. Him stepping down needs to be a business decision, not a personal one. It needs to be a business decision. It doesn't need to be that he's accepting guilt. Okay? He needs to just say, this is for the good of the business. You know, if people want to slander me, talk bad about me, whatever. But the company is a different thing. The company can move on. Now, the question is, how do you do that? Because there's a lot of people talking about, well, how can you force Vince out? I'm not even talking about forcing Vince out. I'm talking about Vince looking in the mirror, saying, I'm 76 years old. I'm tired. I want to fuck whoever I want to fuck. My dick still works. I want to go out and bang some chicks. I don't need this horse shit. I don't need people following me around, ratting me out to the Wall Street Journal every time I stick my dick in something. He got fuck you money. He needs to go live his life. He needs to let this shit go. I mean, why go through all the stress and the strife and the trouble and the headaches of people trying to do this shit? Clearly they want you gone. You know, go enjoy the rest of your life and bang whoever the fuck you want. Why go through this shit? If that was me, for starters, I probably wouldn't have been fucking my employees. That's just me. But if I did, and I kept getting harassed about it, I would say, you know what? I got more than enough money. I got more money than I'll ever spend, more money than I'll ever need. I'm going to go fuck some young chicks, and I'm going to piss you off doing it because I'm not going to do it as the CEO of the company. You know what? You think somebody else can do this job better than me? Let them go run the company. I will go live out the next, 10, 20 years of my life fucking young chicks, doing whatever I want to do. He needs to go. He needs to step down. He needs to do it. And he needs to do it in a fuck you kind of way. Maybe he'll get he'll beat the investigation. He didn't use any of the company's money, or maybe he did. We don't know yet. And if that's the case, maybe he'll beat that case and then spike the football and say, well, I'm going to leave anyway. I just wanted to be exonerated first. But ultimately, when you're looking at how this could affect the business, and they've done this numerous times to numerous different people like Dan Snyder and Weinstein and all these different guys, it's important that you put the business first. Now, I'm not saying Vince should sell all his shares and all that kind of stuff. He can still maintain his stock without having any sort of input into the company. He needs to step down, period. Just go home. You can do whatever you want. Just go home. That's the weird thing about all of this that's kind of fucking with me. Like, you could solve all of your problems, Vince, by just going home. Then nobody gives a fuck if you fucking the employees because you don't work there. You want to fuck that office manager over there? And go ahead. You don't work here anymore. You wanna fuck the chick that works in finance? Go right ahead. You don't work here anymore. You're not the boss anymore. Fuck her if you want to. You want to have all these non-disclosure agreements? Go do whatever you want. You don't work here anymore. You putting all this stress on yourself because you're trying to have your cake and eat it too. You don't need to do that. Just let it go. For the good of the business and for the good of Vince McMahon himself, he needs to step down. He needs to leave. He needs to go bye-bye. I'm not saying step down as CEO temporarily. I mean step down as CEO permanently. Maintain his stock and just say, I'll stay at home. But he has voting power when it comes to the company. And when it's time to do all that kind of stuff, he'll participate in that. But as far as a formal title within the company, showing up to the office every day, he can even still show up at Raw and SmackDown if he wants to, if he just want to hang around, be an advisor. He could do that. But he cannot keep doing what he's doing. It's going to destroy the company. He can't do it. And I know he cares more about the company than he cares probably about his own fucking family. So if somebody were to put it to him in that way, like, look, you're going to destroy the fucking company. 40 years of what you built, what your father built, all the relationships that you made, that you put together, NBC and Fox and, all this kind of stuff. You're putting it all at risk by trying to maintain your position, trying to have your cake and eat it too. No, you need to smarten up. You can do whatever you want, man. Just, you can't do it while you're working here. You can't have the position and the hose. If you want the hose, gotta let the position go. You want the position, gotta let the hose go. But now at this point, it's too late. You already took the hose and the position. Now it's coming back to bite you in the ass. You can't have them both. You gotta let one of them go. All right. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank y'all for listening. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.